Welcome back to Artifact Cup 30. This is Majiir Paktu speaking as always, and I get to watch myself in this game, which is going to be really fun because I don't remember how it happened. So this is the Round Robin Artifact Cup 30. This is the first time we've done a Round Robin tournament in the Artifact Cup series. Normally it's a single elimination tournament. I think once or twice we tried double elimination, but that took a long time. So every matchup in Artifact Cup 30 has a predetermined map, so in the first round, everybody watches, everybody plays on the shallows. So I was paired up versus Mordax Praetorian. Over here, it is me in the Galcian.
We're cleared to move.
And I don't remember what I did this game, but hopefully I'll be able to see what I'm doing and predict, you know, based on what I know about myself, what my strategy is. And over here is Mordax in the Soban carrier. Really nice black Soban there. So, both players, it looks
LAV
like...
now available for production.
Okay, so Mordax has opened up on CUs going into RUs as secondary. And I opened up on primarily RUs and then added CUs later. Going for Sandskimmer Fab. Nothing really unusual. Neither of us retired our base runners, which makes sense on the shallows, as I said in a few other games. Retiring a base runner on the shallows doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the artifacts are so close to the extraction zones and pretty close together, and there's just not really much you can do if you don't control this center zone anyway, so you might as well control the center zone and capitalize on that by grabbing a few artifacts. Helps with carrier power, which is good because there's pretty good ways of moving your carrier in and fighting with your carrier on this map. And of course, it gets you closer to that 5-point artifact victory.
Copy. Go ahead.
On our way. Set charges.
AAVs
right
from
there.
Mordax, which is not really surprising. Assault ships from me, which is not super surprising
Enemy sighted.
if you know Galcian players, but a little surprising if you know me. It's more of a recent thing for me to go assault ships.
Enemy base runner approaching AO.
But not terribly uncommon on the shallows because it lets you then go into aircraft.
Carrier copies.
Displace to that CU field.
I am doing something a little unusual on the shallows. Many players will go for a very macro opening, try to quickly get refinery mode and quickly get support cruisers out. And I'm moving my production cruiser way up.
Armored assault now available for production.
Haven't quite moved it into his base yet, but it would be nice to do that. Building some sand skimmers in the meantime. Meanwhile, you can see Mordax going for that support cruiser, which is a more typical shallows kind of play.
Cruiser ready.
Support cruiser.
And both of us are going to grab an artifact.
Artifact extraction in progress.
Roger that. Coordinates confirmed. Going mobile. Send message.
Yep, so Mordax is going to leave his support cruiser back here, move his carrier up.
Awaiting orders. Enemy sand skimmer on approach.
Looks like I forgot that I grabbed that for a little bit.
Hostile unit marked. LAV taking effective fire.
Coordinates confirmed.
Hostile contact on the board.
By the way, it took me a long time to actually figure out
Enemy signature
that
identified.
you can tell when somebody has a high ground bonus, but I'll point it out next time it happens, just in case you're like me.
Salvage your
I played this game for a long time and never knew, but this little plus when it appears on highlighted units,
Base runner
that
taking
indicates you've got a high ground bonus. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what that means.
Set up. Get on it.
Little Disruptor's going to come out here,
On the board.
which is going to force my Sand Skimmers back. Ultimately isn't really going to do anything because the base runner itself was in the Disruptor and just slowing itself down while my units were outside of it and we're still a bit of fire. So with the firepower from the assault ship, that base runner from Mordax will go down. Mine will go unchallenged into the extraction zone. These two LAVs did survive the little encounter with the Sand Skimmers, but there are now assault ships on the way. And of course,
Enemy
Interceptor
contact
Fab
on sensors. Enemy forces
is coming in as the natural follow-up because it does require assault ships in order to unlock interceptors. So it's always a good bet that a Galcian player who has assault ship Fab is going to go for interceptors because it's something they don't get to do when they have railguns.
Hostile armor on the board.
Marking coordinates acquired. Moving to site.
These Soban ALMs are going to be a little annoying, but ultimately aren't going to really do anything. They're not powered up enough to do any real damage.
Sensor
So AAVs now for Mordax.
Taking effective fire.
He did have that AAV tech pretty early, but didn't really use it. And so now that there are AAVs out in the field, they're going to be very difficult to use. He's building a lot of these, but against assault ships, AAVs are not very effective, even when supported by ALMs like this. The ALMs and the AAV smoke are a useful delay tactic, which, given that Mordax is going for railguns... Oh! Did he? No, he completed that. He must have completed that. Okay. I thought he might have canceled that. So this is, at this point, I would say too many AAVs. And 7 is way too many. For this stage in the game, this many AAVs is just way more than are necessary or appropriate. It's much better to spend those resources on things like railguns. Good that Mordax is switching into those now. Or maybe just things like support cruisers, resources, maybe grab that over there. Power reserve tech would be useful here. But now this is critical. This is a critical mistake. These AEVs are bunched up against assault ships. Assault ships have AoE damage. There's this little passage here where now all of my assault ships can come back and each one gets like 3 or 4x damage depending on how many of these units are overlapping. Meanwhile, the assault ships can only hit one target at once. So these AEVs get absolutely slaughtered in this narrow passageway that Mordax followed me up on. These AEVs following up my assault ships. And now there's smoke here. And it would be great if these AEVs ran away when the smoke happens. But as it is, they're like spreading out a little bit and still going to try and fight these assault ships. And it's just not going to work. There's too much damage being done there. There are railguns now. There's also an interceptor here. The interceptor might be able to do good damage against the railguns. And these assault ships can hide behind a rock here and are going to be outside of the railguns until the railguns close the distance. This was very intentional, by the way, to, now that railgun goes down to AoE damage, and the units were bunched up once more. So when you're using assault ships, you really want to try and force... This is great when you can force your enemy to bunch up. And when you're fighting assault ships, you just can't bunch up. You want to stay nicely spread out, surround the assault ships maybe, but definitely don't follow through a narrow passageway because the assault ships will eat you alive. That was really just very few units that took out a much larger, more superior force, which has allowed me to build some more fighters, allowed me to build another production cruiser, allowed me to build a handful more assault ships.
Railgun assembly complete. Carrier power reserves expanded.
Meanwhile, behind all this, there was another artifact ferried. Looks like this one is one that I picked up and brought back. Originally, Mordax had grabbed his new artifact and I grabbed the middle one, so now I can go back and grab the middle one again. I could have gone for that one maybe, but there are railguns here.
Salvager construction complete.
These sand skimmers aren't really meant to do much, they're just scouts. Which will be really useful if I bring railguns to bear. I don't remember if I do. I guess I don't. I just have fighters.
PDA active.
Support cruiser online.
Move.
Ready orders.
Mordax is going to go for support cruiser anti-air, and when I pulled up this menu, I was going to make a comment about missile battery fab. Support cruiser anti-air is valid, but it's very expensive.
Enemy contact on
and it only helps you back at home, where you keep the support cruisers.
Hostile contact on the board.
This is again very bunched up. It would be better for me if I had my assault ships maybe in here instead of back here. As it is, these railguns are going to be able to probably take out these assault ships, but you still got to be very careful when you're fighting assault ships to not bunch up. It's even against 1 or 2, it can be very perilous.
Enemy forces have acquired an artifact. Destination set.
And against interceptors. Really, every unit that I have at this point is explosion-based, has AoE, and so you really don't want to bunch up units because that's just a damage multiplier for my units.
A railgun has been lost. Contact.
So now all of my units are going to kind of consolidate in the middle here, which is going to help get an angle with AoE. These railguns are going to be pretty weak without getting any shots down. Sand skimmers now are going to be able to take out AAVs, potentially. Maybe these assault ships will do the
Enemy
job.
sighted.
Mordax has railguns here, but they're just not able to reach in to
Enemy
these rock
signature
formations.
identified. Ready.
A good choice here,
Enemy contact on
rather than
sensors.
missile batteries, given that there's support cruiser anti-air already
Enemy
researched,
armor
might
inbound.
be
Green light
assault cruisers and then artillery. Artillery is a really good
Contact.
choice
Enemy
against
armor.
units that
The
want to
sensor
hide
post
along
is
in those
taking
rocks.
hostile fire. Carrier
I would
here.
say getting missile batteries means that support cruiser anti-air was a waste. You probably just wanted to get missile batteries and be able to build those next to your support cruisers.
A sensor post has been lost.
Worth noting, I've got a disgusting amount of resources here because I did build an extra production cruiser, and instead of sending it back home to bring my carrier out, which I could do with the carrier power, I
We're moving out.
set it at this resource point, which is less common. Mostly people just occupy these
Hostile
first
sand
three.
skimmer on sensors. Armored unit lost. Enemy engaging armored unit.
But all the resources probably won't be necessary. Mordax is bringing his railguns up too close, probably just with a generic attack order, and these assault ships are going to get right on top of them, take them out. They're not necessarily bunched, but they're just too close and allow the assault ships to go up here, maybe even gain a high ground advantage against them. They're also, some of these assault ships are pretty vetted up now. Rank 3.
Contact. Enemy strike fighter airborne.
There's support cruiser anti-air now,
A
taking out
railgun
my
has been
fighters.
lost. Sensor post under fire.
But these assault ships with the high ground bonus are doing a number on these AAVs, might be able to do something against these railguns as well.
Section officers to remain in station.
Hostile
I'm actually
unit
going to
lost.
run them away back here to try and harass this resourcing operation a little bit. And now there are heavy railguns out, so this changes the game a little bit, in the sense that some counters that may have previously worked for Mordax are no longer going to work as well.
Be advised, artifact retrieval is now paramount. Enemy forces have acquired an artifact.
But these heavy railguns are actually getting almost nothing done.
Enemy armor inbound.
What is getting a lot done though is this base runner. Because there's really no map control here from Mordax, my base runner can just sort of run back and forth
Additional power reserves ready for
and not
shuttle.
worry about anything. Meanwhile, these assault ships were not dealt with, and they're going to just continually harass this resourcing spot. This assault ship is going to hide in the back and try and regenerate. I don't know if it actually gets regenerated. It does, yep. So, you got to watch out for when assault ships or AVs get right behind your resourcing line and just sit there, because they can do a lot of damage.
LAV taking effective fire.
Mordax is now going to be moving out into the center of the map using aircraft.
Hostile contact
Maybe
on
going
the
to take out this
board.
base runner. Looks like that's what they're going for.
LAV destroyed. Alert. A support cruiser has been lost.
I don't know if 4 aircraft are going to be enough, but I do know I have aircraft. And that's going to do a lot of damage to these strike fighters, because Galcian fighters are very good at anti-air work.
Strike fighter.
Strike fighter down.
So multiple coalition strike fighters are going to go down there. Base runner is not going to go down, and in fact will be able to capture an artifact. Oh, well, maybe it won't.
Green light on visual on Mary and Hunt.
There are more strike fighters here that didn't come out at the same time, but the fire's being split onto these railguns, not the base runner.
Tracking hostile.
Receiving.
Now there are LAVs from Mordax, so this game is getting a little more interesting.
Enemy sighted.
Strike confirmed.
The LAV orders were a bit canceled. I think there was an attack order there, so they're not going to be consolidated as they should be. That said, this is like really vulnerable to assault ships
Hostile
and
armor on the board. Light attack vehicle
to
under
interceptors.
fire.
And this narrow passage also makes it very, very vulnerable. These are all going to die. Assault ships like that just totally shred bunched LAVs. The right way to use LAVs in this situation would be to run them over here and just hit at range. Stay out of the assault ship range and try to use the ranged attack
Enemy
against
signature
the
identified.
assault
Railgun
railguns.
engaging enemy units. Armored unit lost.
Or potentially run them up here if he had ever scouted
Railgun
this.
destroyed. Hostile contact marked.
Move confirmed.
Enemy contact on sensors. Hostile unit marked.
Hostile forces are pursuing an artifact.
Enemy armor inbound. The sensor post is taking hostile fire.
At this point, I don't think there's anything Mordax can do to defend against this.
Go for orders. Alert.
There is aircraft and there's some carrier power.
Carrier. Salvager under fire. Armored
And there are
vehicle
railguns up here with high
taking
ground
effective
bonus. They're going to be dislodged probably by these, sand skimmers.
Reading.
And the rest of these units are going to just kind of wander in and trash the resourcing operation here while an artifact gets captured. So these strike fighters really have only one choice, which is go and kill this base runner.
Salvager destroyed. Carrier copy.
And if they do anything like, so this is actually a really good opportunity for these strike fighters to do damage, because these units are super bunched up and stunned by the armed logistics module, so there's a lot of damage that can be done here by the strike fighters. But this is the game-winning piece, and it's very weak, so the strike fighters could have perhaps taken that out, but Mordax was sort of forced to choose one target or the other. And unfortunately, he needed to be able to kill both.
A salvager has been lost.
What am I doing here? Yeah,
Strike fighter down.
Must have misclicked that or something.
Armored vehicle destroyed.
Because there's really just nothing to be done here.
Command carrier taking damage.
Ruptures. Enemy forces have acquired an artifact.
And that is it. So thank you for watching. There's another couple games I think remaining. I believe there were maybe. No, there must be more games remaining. I think there were 12 players or something, 9 players in this cup. So we're going to see more games on the Shallows, and then we'll be later moving on to another map. So both players, both Mordax Praetorian and I, will be moving on because it's the round-robin tournament. Stay tuned for more.